The next thing I'm going to go into is starting with a basic financial plan. So the first thing that we have to do if we're going to start with a basic financial plan is we have to know that we are in fact following rule number 1, which is spending less money than we make. And that starts with the basic premise of accounting for and understanding where you're spending money. So you have to have a personal P&L and a personal balance sheet. And what's a personal P&L? A personal P&L is everywhere that you spend money and all the money that you're bringing in. So it's how much money you've brought in, less how much money you've spent, and categorized into separate categories. Because I'm not a believer in budgets. I'm a believer in following rule number 1, spending less money than you make. Because if you do that, you'll be more successful. Ultimately, in business, we make decisions to spend money on certain things, and we might buy a big piece of machinery, or we invest in new people or in new locations. And each time we go to make an investment, we expect to get some sort of rate of return. However, in our personal lives, we rarely do this. Most of the time we go and spend money because we either feel like we need to or we want to at the moment, without enough self-reflection on what the value is of that expense. And so fundamentally, my point here is, if you look at a personal P&L on a monthly basis and you not only spend less money than you make, but you look at where you've spent that money, you will spend money in an area that is more valuable to you. So if you spend $1 and you get $1.50 in return, good spend. If you spend $1 but you only got 50 cents in return, bad spend. So what we want to do is constantly be spending less money than we're making. That's one reason for the personal P&L. But perhaps the second and equally important one is to make sure that we're spending the money in the right areas, in things that matter to us. And every one of us is unique. Every one of us is different, and we will all value things differently. So fundamentally, we can't spend more money than we make, but secondarily, we also must focus on spending our money in places that are important to us individually, that give us value. And so those are the two real reasons why we look at that personal P&L. So why do we look at a personal balance sheet, and what is it? A personal balance sheet is very simple. It's things you own minus things you owe. That equals what's called your net worth. Very, very simple equation, and it's important for us to understand because ultimately we are going to live off of our assets at some point, or we're going to spend them down, or these assets, this net worth, in a growing sense, is going to give us a growing sense of independence, freedom, and power. And that's what's so important about this. If this is, having your personal balance sheet is the same as finding your spot on the map. It's making sure you understand where you are. Because financial planning is nothing more than starting at a point here and wanting to end up at a point here and building a path that's going to look something like this to get to there. Yeah, it's not going to go in a straight line, but it's going to get there, and you need to know at every step of the way where you stand, because the stock market, the economy, the real estate market, your job prospects, your income are all going to go up and down. But if you have a plan to get to this spot, eventually you'll be able to accomplish it, as long as you understand where you are today. So everything starts with a personal P&L and a personal balance sheet and knowing where you are. The third and last thing that's probably the most important thing of all when it comes to financial planning are your goals. So once a year, my suggestion is that people look at their personal goals and reassess what it is that's important to them. So it may be a new house somewhere in the tropics with beaches and waves. Those are supposed to be waves, not very good ones, but whatever, close enough. And a surfer. Yay! It may be that you want to travel more. It may be that you want to go and actually go cook or do teaching or nonprofit work or whatever it is that you want to go do in your life. You need to build a system of goals. And all of these goals then get wrapped up into what you want to do with your financial plan. What is the ideal life that you want to live? And once you've figured that out, which takes a bit of time, usually it takes about an hour or two of actual exercise work, and usually it takes about 2 to 3, 4 weeks of actual self-reflection and thinking about where you want to get to. But once you get to that point, what we want to then do is start to think about, okay, how do we figure out then what this is worth? And so you first off, you start with a monthly expense figure. How much is it going to cost you to actually live this life? And for just argument's sake, let's say that it's going to cost you $10,000 per month to live that life. If it's going to cost you $10,000 a month, that means it's going to cost you $120,000 per year to live this life. And then the question is, well, how much do I need in net worth, what I own minus what I owe, in order to be able to provide me $120,000 a year? And the very simple equation is you double this, which takes it to $240,000, and I add a zero. Double it and add a zero. Very simple stuff, $2.4 million. And if I have $2.4 million, I can generate $120,000 per year for the rest of my life, whether I'm 8 years old, 18 years old, 28 years old, or 88 years old. It makes no difference. You will not run out of money if you are taking off only 120 off of the 240. And this works for any number that you start with. So if you wanted to start with 5,000, 15,000, all of the math works exactly the same. So you've started with a goal, you've created your dream life, what it is that you want to accomplish, and then you've taken it a step further and said, this is what I think it will cost. How did you come up with that? Well, one, you're going to guess about it, but number two, if you're using your personal P&L, you understand what you're spending money on, and then you look at your dream life and you figure out what are the things I won't spend money on anymore, and what are the things I'm going to end up spending more on, and ultimately come up with a monthly figure of what you're going to spend in order to accomplish your dreams and goals. So now we have a number. With our goal-based number, we have a number of $2.4 million. And if we started, once again, this would be our $2,400,000 goal. And today, we may only have $100,000 in net worth. And we're going to build a plan to get from here to here. And how are we going to do that? Critical question that we're going to answer. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to automate this entire system, because what I have found is that as humans, we fundamentally don't have the discipline to do things if we actually have to push buttons. So we're going to automate this entire system so that it works without our involvement, other than a few select times during the year where we re-up our goals and we change perhaps some of our dreams and desires. But outside of that, what we start with here is our bank account. We've got money coming in. And this is money coming in from our job, from our work, whatever it is. Money's coming in. In addition to money coming in, money is going out. And what's it going out for? Well, it's going out for expenses, our monthly expenses. So money coming in and money going out. And if we're doing this right, we actually have money left over in our checking account at the end of the month, because we are in fact spending less money than we make. And so if we're doing that, what's happening to this money is it's in fact growing and going up and up and up. Now, under the the Our Family CFO philosophy, we keep 3 months of our expenses. So if our expenses over here are $5,000 a month, we keep $15,000 in our checking account. This is our checking account. Above that $15,000, we set a high water mark. And what I do is go to the banks and say, we want an automatic sweep account into a savings account, which has got a higher interest rate, or a high yield money market account. Either one's fine. Because over here, you might be earning 0.5%, and today, you might be earning 1% here. But historically, you'll earn 1% here and 3% here. So we want to build this for historical norms, where we're going to end up getting back to historical norm interest rates. We take this $15,000 and we keep putting money in. And if we keep putting money in and we're spending less money than we're making, what's happening is this continues to grow. And as it continues to grow, eventually it will hit the $15,000 mark, at which point it's going to overflow into your savings and money market account. Inside of your savings, this is an automatic sweep set up at the bank, so you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is spend less money than you make and set the right limit. Once you're done with that, you look at your savings and money market, there should be another 3 months, or another, in this case, $15,000 inside of your savings and money market. And if you're following rule number 1 and saving money by spending less than you're making, this in fact is going to continue to grow as well. It's just like that old champagne kind of pyramid thing that happens at weddings. Same exact concept. It's money coming in, less money is going out than is going in, therefore it's growing and it's spilling over. And it's spilling over into the savings and money market account, then it's going to hit the high water mark here, and eventually what you're going to do is you're going to roll it into a brokerage account where you are going to auto-invest your money. So that spill, and this spills into here. This whole thing, in my world, what we have titled this is called the Waterfall Method, because it spills over and spills over, and it spills over without you having to do any work. And this is awesome because it takes out the human element in each of us and gives us discipline where we might not have it on our own to actually go and take the time to do this on our own.